Hello, beautiful souls. If you have been following this series, thank you for being here. And if this is your first time joining me, I highly encourage you to watch episodes 1 and 2 first, because this final conversation brings everything together. In episode 1, we explored a truth that many women need to hear. Healing matters, but healing alone doesn't automatically create freedom. You can understand your patterns and still feel trapped. You can process your pain and still feel stuck. You can know exactly what's wrong and still not know how to move forward. Then, in episode 2, we talked about rebuilding. We explored the 5 pillars that helped me begin creating a different life: safety, skills, income, support, identity. Because rebuilding isn't about becoming perfect, it's about creating stability. It's about creating options. It's about creating a foundation strong enough to hold the life you're trying to build. But today, I want to talk about something even deeper. Because eventually, there comes a moment where healing isn't enough, rebuilding isn't enough, learning isn't enough, planning isn't enough, thinking isn't enough. There comes a moment where your future is determined by something else, a decision. And that's what today's episode is about. The decisions that change everything. Not overnight, not magically, but permanently. Because when I look back at my own journey, I don't see one giant breakthrough. I don't see one perfect moment. I don't see one life-changing event. What I see are a series of decisions, small decisions, scary decisions, uncomfortable decisions, but decisions that slowly changed the direction of my life. And maybe that's important for someone listening today, because many people believe transformation happens in dramatic moments. But more often than not, transformation begins quietly, with a decision nobody else even sees. A decision that says, I can't stay here forever. I deserve more than survival. I'm willing to build something different. And that's exactly where my story begins. For a long time, I believed readiness would arrive like a feeling. I thought one morning I would wake up and suddenly know exactly what to do. I thought confidence would appear first and action would follow. I thought certainty was a requirement. I thought courage was something people had before they started. So I waited. I waited to feel ready. I waited to feel confident. I waited for permission. I waited for perfect timing. I waited for fear to disappear. I waited for someone wiser to tell me what to do. I waited for life to become easier. And while I was waiting, something else was happening. Life was moving. Months became years. Opportunities came and went. Dreams stayed the same. Fears stayed the same. Circumstances stayed the same. Because waiting feels productive. It feels responsible. It feels safe. But often, waiting is simply fear wearing a more acceptable disguise. And one day I realized something that completely changed how I saw my life. Nobody was coming to rescue me. Not because I wasn't worthy, not because people didn't care, but because this was my life, and responsibility for my future belonged to me. That realization hurt, but it also set me free. Because the moment you stop waiting for rescue, you begin reclaiming your power. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to save your future, you start building it yourself. Today, I want to share the 5 decisions that changed everything for me. And maybe one of them will become your next step too. The first decision was this. I stopped waiting for permission. And honestly, this was one of my hardest shifts. Many women spend years waiting for permission. Permission from family. Permission from partners. Permission from society. Permission from friends. Permission from their own fears. They wait until everyone understands, until everyone agrees, until everyone approves, until everyone supports them. But life doesn't work that way. Sometimes your next chapter begins before anyone else can see it. Sometimes the people around you won't understand your vision. Sometimes they will question you. Sometimes they will doubt you. Sometimes they will project their own fears onto your future. And if you're waiting for universal approval, you will wait forever. I remember reaching a point where I finally asked myself, what if nobody ever gives me permission? What if nobody ever fully understands? What if nobody ever tells me it's okay? Would I stay where I am forever? That question changed something inside me. Because I realized I didn't need permission to rebuild my life. I didn't need permission to learn. I didn't need permission to grow. I didn't need permission to create income. I didn't need permission to become someone new. The only permission I truly needed was my own. And perhaps someone listening today needs to hear that. You are allowed to begin before everyone understands. You are allowed to outgrow old versions of yourself. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to create a different future. Ask yourself honestly, where are you waiting for permission? And what would happen if you gave it to yourself? The second decision that changed everything was deciding to build skills. Healing helped me understand my past. Skills helped me build my future. And this is where many people get stuck. They consume information endlessly. Books, podcasts, videos, courses. They become experts at learning, but they never become practitioners. They never apply. They never build. They never practice. And knowledge without application changes very little. At one point, I realized I didn't need more information. I needed capability. I needed skills that could create opportunities. So I started learning communication, content creation, marketing, sales, personal branding, digital systems. Not because I wanted to become someone else, but because I wanted choices. Because choices create freedom, and freedom changes lives. One skill can open a door you can't even see today. One skill can create income. One skill can create confidence. One skill can completely change how you see yourself. Think about that for a moment. Every time you learn something new, you collect evidence. Evidence that growth is possible. Evidence that you are capable. Evidence that your future doesn't have to look like your past. And the beautiful thing about skills is that nobody can take them away from you. Circumstances can change. Jobs can change. Industries can change. But the person you become through learning stays with you. That's why investing in yourself is never wasted. The third decision that changed everything was deciding to create income. This conversation sometimes makes people uncomfortable, but I believe many women need to hear it. Because financial stability matters. Creating income isn't selfish. It's not greedy. It's not superficial. It's practical. For years, I viewed healing and financial stability as separate conversations. But eventually, I realized they were deeply connected. Because every bill I could pay myself reduced anxiety. Every new skill I learned increased confidence. Every additional stream of income created breathing room. And with breathing room came better decisions. Not decisions made from panic. Not decisions made from fear. Decisions made from possibility. Income creates options. Options create independence. Independence creates freedom. And freedom allows healing to deepen. For many women, financial dependence becomes emotional dependence. And emotional dependence becomes limitation. I didn't want money because I wanted luxury. I wanted options. I wanted peace. I wanted choice. I wanted the ability to support myself. I wanted the ability to make decisions from empowerment instead of fear. That's why building income became part of my healing journey, not separate from it, part of it. And if you've ever felt guilty for wanting financial stability, please hear this. There is nothing wrong with wanting security. There is nothing wrong with wanting independence. There is nothing wrong with wanting options. The fourth decision that changed everything was deciding not to do it alone. One of the biggest mistakes people make during transformation is believing they must carry everything themselves. Healing alone, learning alone, building alone, struggling alone. And while independence is important, isolation is not strength. For a long time, I believed asking for help meant weakness. I believed I should be able to figure everything out myself. I believed Strong people handled everything alone. But eventually, I learned something different. Growth happens faster when you're surrounded by people moving in the same direction. People who understand the journey. People who support your goals. People who challenge your excuses. People who remind you what's possible. Think about how different life feels when you're surrounded by encouragement instead of doubt. One conversation can change your perspective. One mentor can save you years of confusion. One supportive community can help you continue on the days motivation disappears. Because there will be difficult days. Days where you question everything. Days when progress feels invisible. Days when you wonder if any of this is worth it. And during those moments, support matters. Sometimes borrowing someone else's belief is enough to keep moving. Sometimes that's all you need. The fifth and most important decision was deciding to trust myself. For years, I doubted myself. I questioned everything, every opportunity, every dream, every possibility. I assumed everyone else knew better. I assumed everyone else had the answers. I assumed confidence was something other people were born with. But eventually, I realized something. Confidence isn't certainty. Confidence is trust. Trust that you will figure things out. Trust that you will adapt. Trust that you will learn. Trust that you will survive mistakes. Trust that you will keep moving forward. The women who create extraordinary lives aren't fearless. They are willing. Willing to act despite uncertainty. Willing to begin before they're ready. Willing to trust themselves enough to take the next step. And that changed everything for me. Because once you stop demanding certainty before action, life opens up. You begin moving. You begin experimenting. You begin learning. You begin growing. And growth creates confidence, not the other way around. If I could go back and speak to the version of me who felt trapped, I would tell her 3 things. First, stop waiting for perfect timing. It doesn't exist. There will always be reasons to delay. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be fear. Start anyway. Second, valuable skills sooner. Learn valuable skills sooner. Because skills compound. The sooner you start, the longer you have to work for you. Third, get support earlier. Because trying to figure everything out alone costs years, not days, not months, years. And if you're listening today and you feel behind, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not behind. You're simply at the point where awareness is turning into action. And that's where everything changes. Maybe you're still in survival mode. Maybe you're still exhausted. Maybe you're still overwhelmed. Maybe you're still doubting yourself. Maybe you're still trying to figure out where to start. If that's you, remember this. You do not need to know everything. You only need to take the next step. Not the next 100 steps, the next one. Because the future isn't built through giant leaps. It's built through repeated decisions, small decisions, consistent decisions, courageous decisions. Every decision becomes evidence. Evidence becomes confidence. Confidence becomes momentum. Momentum becomes transformation. And transformation becomes a new life. Before we close, I want to share something exciting. This month, we have special offers available across the ecosystem. Whether you're interested in SMGB Academy, the SMGB Academy and BTC bundle, or the SMGB X-Time monthly membership, there is something designed to support you wherever you are on your journey. And for this month only, the first 2 people who enroll in either SMGB Academy, SMGB and BTC bundle, or SMGB X-Time monthly membership will receive a completely personalized guidance roadmap created around their individual needs. Not a generic PDF, not a template, a personalized guide designed around your current situation, your goals, your strengths, your challenges, and your next practical steps. Because no 2 journeys are identical. And sometimes clarity is the greatest gift we can receive. Before we finish, I want you to imagine something. Imagine yourself 1 year from today. Not perfect, not fearless, not finished, but stronger, more capable, more independent, more confident. Imagine waking up knowing you kept your promise to yourself. Imagine looking back at today's version of you and realizing this was the moment everything started changing. Not because your circumstances magically improved, not because someone rescued you, not because fear disappeared, but because you made a decision to stop waiting, a decision to start building, a decision to trust yourself, a decision to believe that your future deserved your participation. And maybe that decision begins today. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for allowing me to share mine. And remember, healing matters, rebuilding matters, learning matters. But ultimately, freedom is built one decision at a time. And every decision you make today is shaping the life you live tomorrow. I'll see you in the next chapter. This is Anastasia Georgouli from Light Within Journey. Thank you.